Hi y'all, and welcome back to my channel. I don't really have to say anything. I know why y'all are here today, and that is for the continuation of Anti-Haul-mageddon. I am honestly in shock and awe about how many things I can keep adding to my list for anti-hauls. As I keep filming them, I keep finding more things. Like, it is non-stop inspiration, non-stop content material for these videos. Like, when we were in early 2020 and mid 2020, I would go like, you know, a month or so without, you know, filling out all my whatevers. And now it seems every other week I have enough stuff to make a video on. We are back to peak saturation. It is not stopping. We are going chugging through 2020 into 2021. Before we know it, we're gonna go right on past holiday and it's gonna be spring releases. It is no longer raining men, it is raining makeup, and there is no sign in the forecast for it to stop. So get out your umbrellas, put on your raincoats, and let's just go trudging through this list of makeup that I'm not gonna buy. And why? Some of this shiz I want, and I'm desperately trying to be good for that last push of my low buy. I've already kind of fudged up a little bit more than I would have liked to. So we are trying very, very hard to stay strong. And some of this shiz is just stupid. These companies be wilding out here. All right, we're gonna start with something that my inner loving heart really wants. Chi Chic Beauty, the beauty brand of a drag queen who I absolutely love. She is in my top 10 favorites. Her aesthetic, her fashion, her makeup, she is just so on point. I just about lost my shiz when she was on an episode of Glow Up. I was like, yes! Well, she's got her makeup company and she decided to release all of her face products, highlighters, contour duos, bronzer, blush duos in these beautiful, absolutely aesthetically stunning, perfectly executed Polly Pocket-esque compacts. I mean, when I'm not all kinds of goth, getting all up, making rituals and sacrifices all up in this shiz, y'all know this is my opposite aesthetic. It's either this, or sometimes in between. And y'all know your girl loves a beautiful blush duo. These colors look stunning. Y'all know I love spending money I don't have on blushes I don't need, on highlighters I don't need. A couple of y'all have been like, hey, I know you like the whole heart compact thing. How are you resisting those Kimchi Chic duos? I'm doing okay. I'm trying very hard to resist. It's a little bit of a struggle right now, but they look so pretty. The duos were in one of Abby Williams' anti-hauls, and she thought they were beautiful. I love a blush duo. I love a blush duo that's the size of a normal blush. I did recently buy those Melt Cosmetics B ones. These ones are at a really good price point. I want to say they're either 15 or 18, which you're getting, you know, 2 blushes. So we'll have to see about maybe buying whatever, but you know, they're just, you know, but blush, and I got so much blush, it's the highlighter. I won't ever get the contours or the bronzers because I don't contour or bronze, and if I do, I've already got like 5, so I'm good. Okay, let's talk about something else that a certain particular part of me wants, but then the non-bougie, non-rich, cruelty-free loving me is like, no. It's like in Magical Christmas, Santa, Surprise, whatever land Soraya would have these, but in reality, straight up, not rich Soraya land. I will just gaze at pictures of these from afar, and that is the Disney Princesses X Estee Lauder. Y'all, this shiz isn't even makeup. They're compacts. It's either a mirror one or a perfume one. And they are stunning. They're also disgustingly, disgracefully expensive. Like, this shiz has got all kinds of like Swarovski crystals up in this. It's artistry. We've got Belle. We've got Cinderella. We got Tiana. We got Ariel. And I want each and every single one of them. I think like the compact is 150 and then like the perfume thing is 200 and something. I understand these are being sold as like super luxury, fancy, middle-aged rich white woman sort of thing. Although I'm not entirely sure if Disney Princesses is Estee Lauder rich middle-aged white woman aesthetic. I'm not here to judge. I'm not sure. I don't think 30 is middle-aged. I mean, I'm down with the Disney Princess collab. Like I said, if it didn't deal with the cruelty-free, if I was rich and I had money to just, you know, I had FU money just balling up in here, I'd buy these. I'm not gonna deny it. And they would sit all pretty. I would probably shadow box the shiz out of them. And then I could be a rich lady going through and be like, look at my Swarovski crystal encrusted Estee Lauder Disney Princess compacts. But that's not happening. They're beautiful. They're stunning. It's like Besame Cosmetics Sleeping Beauty collection all over again, but a lot more expensive. They are just absolutely stunning. Okay, let's talk about one that makes me roll my eyes right out of my head, and that is the Glamlight, a company that I've talked about repeatedly on this channel. As y'all know, I like well-executed food-themed makeup, but after you've run out of all the feasible food to be inspired for eyeshadow palettes, you start kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel. It's like we were originally dining, you know, at Red Lobster and Olive Garden, and now we're like at White Castle and Wendy's. And that is the Burger Slider palette. Now, the original Burger palette, I like the color story on. It's got the greens and the yellows and the reds. I'm really down with that shiz. If that hadn't been a big old giant clunky mess from that company and it had been released by, I don't know, Colourpop, maybe Too Faced, though probably not, from a brand that I actively purchased from, I would have bought it because the color story be banging. But y'all, this Slider palette, which is a burger just in a little baby form, is teeny tiny highlights from the original Burger palette with blue in it. Don't ask me why it has blue. When I think of burgers, I don't think of blue. That's not the color story that comes to mind. And now I'm going to have someone in the comments that's going to be all like, well, it says blue onions, and they're actually blue onions, and you don't know anything about the makeup food aesthetic. I'm okay with not knowing anything about the makeup food aesthetic, because if the makeup food aesthetic is bringing me stuff like this, I don't want it. I just saw it and I'm like, stop. I beg of you, take a minute. You know, I anti-hauled the cake palette, but it's not that bad. You know, the burger palette's got a nice, and then there's just this thing, and they're just like, we need to do something to make this interesting. So now we have food-themed palette with a pop of blue. We've gone beyond, we've transcended the trend of neutral palette with a pop of blue, and now we're seeing food-themed palettes with a pop of blue. Wait until next year, y'all. It's gonna be holiday palettes with a pop of blue. I swear to God, if there's gonna be a new trend that's something with a pop of blue, I'm just gonna rage quit right now. Like I said, I like food-themed makeup when it's done, but when it's literally you're just fiddly-niddly putting colors in here that slightly remotely adhere to the theme of the food you're making the palette with, and then you're like, boom! Blue onions. That's creative. And just not really vibing with that shiz. It does, you know, I understand subjective. I always say this. If I talk about something you absolutely love, if I trash talk something you're planning on buying that is fan-tucking-fastic, you keep doing you, boo-boo. But for me and my whatever, I just don't think it's attractive. I think it's lame. It's just a little burger palette with some blue popped into it. You know, it is not, I feel, staying true to the theme. It's just kind of getting lost in this kerfuffle of random eyeshadows thrown into something. And, you know, like I always say, you get this like free pass with food stuff where you just throw a bunch in there and you're like, well, it doesn't make sense because it's a food palette. We're just putting all the colors in there because it represents all the elements of food. I am just not a fan. I am sorry. I know one of y'all did say you like supporting Glamlight because they are like a Latino owned company, which is fantastic. If they released something that I wanted to try, I would. I'm not trashing the people behind the brand. I just think some of their palettes weren't exactly thought through. They didn't have enough time to cook. Okay, we might as well talk about all the Colourpop releases that have come out. This is just an absolute level of absurdity. Like, I remember back when this whole pandemic thing happened and Colourpop was releasing something like maybe once a month, and I was like, yes, finally, they have seen the light.
At last I've seen the light.
But no, they were just waiting, and now they've plunged us all in absolute eternal darkness because we're just bombarded with all the pointless, reorganized eyeshadow shiz that they have. Because we all know that a Colourpop eyeshadow palette isn't a Colourpop eyeshadow palette if it doesn't look like every other eyeshadow palette. It's just kind of fuddled with a little bit. So we've got the Colourpop Taupe palette, the Colourpop Arctic Fox, though I will admit this one looks kind of tempting. I might get this one and kind of do a compare and contrast to Jeffree Star's Blood Sugar, blue, green, puce, the Cremated palette. I have been on kind of a cool tone kick. I did buy the Bare Necessities one and the other one, so I'm gonna be doing all kinds of videos with those. So that one I'm like, it's stupid. It's a big giant freaking Morphe palette that's Colourpop, but if I'm gonna buy a big giant freaking cool tone palette, I would rather it be Colourpop than Morphe. We got the Colourpop fall/winter palettes that are exclusive to Ulta. I admit these are tempting. It's like Baroque and something. It's like floral and gilded and aesthetically pleasing. It kind of pulls on those Renaissance heartstrings for me, but they're only available at Ulta. I'm just, you know, it's just so much. The Colourpop Native palette. And we have the Colourpop The Child palette, which most definitely by the time this is up, I will at least have the palette. I won't know if I've created any content with it. I would have bought this palette if they'd released it without being in collaboration with The Mandalorian, which, I mean, I freaking love. That's amazing. I love that for them. But the color story is what sold me because it's kind of neutrally grungy greeny. Y'all know I love the Colourpop formula. I love me some neutrally grungy greeny. I love me the Baby Yoda. I've had some discussions with a couple of y'all that's like, do I need it? No. Is Baby Yoda's little adorable face entrancing me and tell me I'm gonna buy it? Most definitely. So even if they'd released this as just a stupid whatever release, I would have been like, those colors though. And this was a Colourpop intellectual property release that wasn't absurdly difficult to get. I waited for after to whatever, and I was just like, well, let me go on the site. Oh, still there. Cool. So I will be using that in some kind of something try on camera video. Then we have the Huda Beauty Naughty Nude, which I will say one thing, there's an eyeshadow. I'll see if I can remember to like cut out a little close up of that shiz. That looks like a petri dish that we're trying to grow a special kind of mold in. So I'm not sure about that. I know it's got a bunch of fancy swirled together shimmers, which I'm kind of like, okay, all right, it looks pretty for a picture, but you just swirl it together and you get a color. It's not really more bang for your buck because you could have just, you know, put that color in there with the two colors mixed together. The eyeshadows are so small, you're not really going to be able to use the different parts of the color. And y'all, I feel like the more eyeshadow palette she released, the more boring she becomes. Like, I love my Rose Gold Remastered palette. I love my Desert Dusk palette. I really enjoy my new Nude palette. But I feel like in comparison to this color story, which is like, oh, naughty nude, it's kind of burgundy, kind of rosy, kind of weird. You know, it's banking on those cute little pretty weird, whatever swirled together shimmers. And compared to what she used to do, it's just a boring color story where I feel like the Rose Gold Remastered was something that was a bit different. The Desert Dusk was a bit different. And this just looks like something any company could have released. You know, Too Faced could have come out with this. Urban Decay could have come out with this. It doesn't stand out as anything that I'm like, oh boy, F me up with that color story. I need that shizz all over my face. It just absolutely doesn't. I just look at it and I'm like, that's another eyeshadow palette I absolutely don't freaking need. And it probably has pressed glitters in it. I'm not sure. I didn't look that too deep into it. I saw it and I was like, oh, okay. That's going on the anti-haul list. Something that I absolutely definitely don't need is Ciate London, a brand that I love their highlighters. Their highlighters are the bomb diggity shiznit. But they like to release really random collaboration collections. They did the Jessica Rabbit one. I was weak and I bought the highlighter. It's okay. I keep it because it's a collector's item and I love Jessica Rabbit. And they were like, you know, we need to collaborate with Miss Piggy. And I'm like, okay, all right, you do that. I guess I'm glad that I'm happy for you. And it's just this kind of thrown together pinky, girly, whatever sort of collection. You know, there isn't anything that I'm like, ah, yes, that vibes in my soul. It's kind of like the Jessica Rabbit collection where the selling point is the iconic imagery of Miss Piggy rather than the interesting aspect or the quality aspect of the makeup itself. As of filming this, some of the makeup has not the best reviews, which is just a testament to the fact that random thrown together collaboration collections, you know, it's not very thought out. They take an aesthetic and they're like, okay, let's present this aesthetic and it's gonna be pristine. And then where they lose it is in the makeup. I feel like with a lot of mainstream companies, which I have come to learn, there is not a lot of thought actually put into the detail of the makeup itself. It's just kind of like, let's slap some correlating colors on here and call it a Miss Piggy collection. I mean, do I relate to Miss Piggy on a certain level? Yeah! I like to eat a lot, and I too am extremely hormonal and possessive. That made me seem like a really creepy person. But it's kind of like pure cosmetics plus Barbie. It's exactly like the Ciate London Jessica Rabbit. It's just sort of there. It's a collection that's gonna be there, doesn't have a lot of hype, doesn't seem to have very good reviews. Give it, you know, month and a half, maybe even 2 months max, that shiz is gonna be on clearance. Might as well talk about something that I kind of want, but not hugely. It's just one of those things where, Soraya, I like taking note of things that I would have like totally jumped shiz on. I would have been like, and that is this new Cover FX highlighting trio, which I haven't got that holiday one that everybody lost their shiz over, and I don't know if it's permanent or not, but they at least brought it back to Sephora for a, you know, time period. I didn't buy that because I was trying to be really good. And then they released this one, which does look stunning. Or actually, oh wait, is it is it Cover FX? Not Hourglass, it's Cover FX. What I said already still stands to reason, but they're taking that shimmer formula in their blush duos and they've created a trio. It's all highlighty and pretty and beautiful, but one of the colors would work really well for me. The other two, one I could use as a blush topper and one is definitely not intended for my pasty skin tone. So this is just sort of something that I look at and I'm like, back in the day, I would have been like,
this is the most beautiful thing ever. I'm gonna use these shades as eyeshadows, as highlighters, as lip toppers.
When in reality, I would get it. I would use the shade that would work for me a little bit and then it would sit in my collection until I declutter it. So I'm glad that I've at least reached this level of personal self-realization. It's a little bit refreshing. Another thing I'm not gonna get, and this is probably gonna be the last thing I talk about, I have anti-hauled all of these so far, and this one is most definitely no exception. It may even be a little bit more disappointing, but the Sugar Pill spooky Halloween themed Capsule palette. Y'all, this company, which I know is very, very capable of creating a spooky themed palette, had the absolute audacity to put these colors in a palette and call it a Halloween themed thing. The only thing spooky about this is the black packaging, which albeit is pretty cool looking. But cool looking black packaging does not a good spooky Halloween themed palette make. I understand this is subjective. Maybe to you, this is the end all be all ultimate spooky Halloween palette color story. Is not for me. This is the farthest thing from spooky. I know people are gonna be like,
well, it's Halloween themed because it's got colors that you would do for doing Halloween makeup.
When you say spooky to me, when you say Halloween to me, I want to see smoky. I want to see green. I want to see orange. I want to see black, gray, deep purple. I want to see silver and gold. I want to see intense, dark, gorgeous, decadent colors. Not a like, they're pink and a little bit of green. I need so much more from these capsule collections than what they have been giving me. I would love to buy a Sugar Pill palette, but these ones that they've been putting out just have not been hitting the mark for me, and I'm sorry. The audacity, the absolute balls to call that a spooky Halloween themed palette is absolutely beyond me. It is a disrespect to the spooky season. All right, everyone, there is that for this particular anti-haul. Obviously, stick around and you're gonna see more of this shiz. Like I always say, this is extremely subjective. We are here to just talk in all sorts of hyperbolic sassiness. So you love what you love, I love what I like, buy what you want. I ain't your mama, spend your money how you want to, and I'll spend my money how I want to. Or more, spend my money how I need to, not how I want to, because if I wanted to, some of these things would be in my hot little hands. But thank you guys so much for watching. I love you, and as always, keep it real. Mwah!